Hi loves, today's tutorial will be on how to recreate the upper parts of this dress, one-sided shoulder dress. Alright, do subscribe, watch and share to friends. Using a princess dart, okay, princess dart bustier, that's what you're going to use for this tutorial. So first thing first, you're going to mark your half length. Alright, so the one I'm working with is 18 inches. Having done this now, the next thing I'm going to mark on this line is my shoulder measurement. Okay, so you check what your shoulder measurement is, insert it. Then 1 inch down for your shoulder slope. Then the next thing you have to mark is your armhole measurements. All right, divide your bust measurement by 6 plus 1.5 inches to get your. Then I'm going to make a row across. All right. So having done this now, this neck area, I'm going to mark 3 inches for my neck width. Connect it to my shoulder slope, which is here. All right. Now, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to divide our armhole into two. All right. So my armhole is 8.5. That's what I have there. When I divide it, I'm going to be having 4.25 inches. This is my shoulder measurements. From that point, I'm coming in by 1/2 inch, which is here. I'm trying to create my armhole curve. So from here now, I'm connecting to my shoulder slope. All right. Then from this point, I'm going to connect to my chest line stroke armhole, making a curve. All right, so having done this now, the next thing you're going to do, so guys, the next thing we're going to go ahead to mark now is our under bust, our bust points measurements. All right, so place your tape back at your shoulder line, mark your under bust. So my under bust is 14.5 inches. Then my nipple points or bust line is here, 3 inches above. Okay, I have it at 11.5 inches. So now, having done this now, I'm going to go ahead and make a roll across. And this is what I have. So this is my under bust, this is my bust point, this is my chest line, and this is my half length. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mark our nipple to nipple measurement. So my nipple to nipple now is 4.5 inches. All right, 9. Then when I divide it by 2, I have 4.5. So on my bust point, the bust line, I'm going to mark 4.5 inches, which is here. Okay, and the under bust, I'm going to remove 1/2 inch from what I have, what I marked on my bust line. Remember, I have 4.5 for my nipple to nipple, so I marked it here on the bust line. Coming to the under bust, I'm going to remove that 1/2 inch, and I'm going to be left with 4 inches. I'll mark it here, and I'll also go ahead and mark it on my half length, at my half length. This is what I have. Now I'm going to connect the 3 of them together. First of all, you connect this and this. Then from here, you connect to your bust line. Then this is what I have. All right. Now, from this point now, which is half of your armhole, you're going to be connecting to the bust line. So from here now, I'm going to connect to my bust line. And this is what I have. Having done this now, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to come to the half length, which is here. You mark 2 inches. You come to the under bust, and you also go ahead to mark your 2 inches. All right, now you connect these 2 points together. This is what you have. Now we're going to be connecting from this bust point to the under bust, but we're going to be making use of the curved part of our rule. And this is what we have. Okay, now we're going to be working on this part. So at this area now, we're going to come up by, we're going to come down by 2 inches, all right, from this point, from this our half middle of our armhole. We're going to come down by 2 inches, and this is the 2 inches. All right, now from these 2 inches, you're going to go up by 2 inches again in a slant form. So I'm going up by 2 inches, and I'm going to connect the 2 points together. This way. All right, that means I'm retracing my line here. So from here now, I'm going to connect back to, so from this point I connected back to my bust line. So why are we doing this? The reason why we are doing this is to avoid bulge. 1, 2, to avoid after sewing the front, after cutting this out and during sewing, you have more of this center piece, then the side piece is going to be shorter. Okay, to avoid that, that is why what we are doing here, we're trying to create our armhole dart and also add extra to avoid shortage. Okay, so having done this, now you're going to go ahead and retrace your armhole. So now you have seen I've retraced my armhole. Then I'm going to shade this part. That is the part we are not working with. You're not working with this area. All right, now we're going to go ahead and insert your horizontal measurement, that is your body measurement. So for my bust measurements, I have 10.75 inches. For my waist, I have 10.5 inches. We have done this now. Now remember, you took out 2 inches from here. You're going to be putting in all these allowances you removed from here. You'll be adding it back to your pattern paper plus stitching allowance. Okay, so I'm going ahead to add 2.5 to 2.75 inches. You can decide to add 3 inches to be on the safe side, to avoid shortage of had I know, I would have added extra. So I just use 3 inches to avoid had I know. Okay, so this is what we have. Now for our neck width, I'm going to just mark our, for our neck depth, I'm just going to mark a basic neck which is 3 inches deep for the front. First of all, please, if you're cutting this, make sure that your, as you can see, I had to fold my paper in, which I didn't do earlier. But to be on the safe side, please try and fold it the other way around before drafting on your pattern paper. So join me as we cut this piece. So now we're going to be using this to cut out for our back. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out on a normal. Then we'll come back and talk about it again. All right, we're going to use it to cut out our back first. Then before we'll be able to like cut out these into pieces. So I'm going to now introduce our back pieces now. So guys, now we're going to be cutting out our back piece. So first and foremost, we're going to mark 1.5 inches for our zip allowance. Right, please, it's necessary because you're going to be having a zip at the back piece. So now on this point now, I'm going to insert my shoulder measurement, the same shoulder measurement you use for your front piece. That's what you're going to use here. This is my shoulder slope. Then the same measurements you use for your armhole, you still go ahead to impute it here. You also come in by half an inch to create your armhole curve. Okay, so for this piece now, I'm just using a normal dart. I'm not doing a princess dart at the back. All right, so I'm just using a normal dart. So I'll go ahead and insert my round measurement plus seam allowance and dart allowance. All right, so my dart allowance is just 1 inch plus my seam allowance, making it 3 inches. All right, so now you're going to go ahead and cut this. Then for your neck depth for the back piece, you're going to be working with 2 inches. Now I'm going to cut this. So guys, now for my front, I'm going to be making my slant. All right, one side shoulder. Now you're going to determine where your own sided shoulder is going to be. Is it going to be here? Is it going to be here? So the choice is totally yours, where you want yours to be. But for this tutorial, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be reducing my shoulder measurements here. So I'm going to reduce it by 1 inch. That is for this part. For this side, I'm going to reduce it by 1 inch. So from here now, I'm going to be connecting it to this point that I have here. All right, but if you think yours is too down, what you have to do is you just come down a little. Sorry, if you think it's too up. So from here now, I'm going to be making a curve towards that area. All right, just watch what I'm doing. So what I did was from here now, I came down to about 1.25 inches, or let's say 1.5 inches. All right, came down to 1.5 inches. Then here from the shoulder measurements, we reduce it by 1 inch at this point. Okay. All right, so now if you think this side is going to choke you or is going to be too up, what you have to do is you still come down, like we have -3 here, so we have about 4. You can still come down to 5 inches. Okay, and this is what we have. Now we're going to be placing this on our back piece to cut it out. All right, now this is our back piece. So guys, I've placed my back piece. This is my back piece and this is my front piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. All right, so what you have to do is go ahead and cut this. This is what we have now. Now we're going to be working on our front piece proper. All right, so we'll keep this aside. So this is what our back piece is looking like. Now we'll work on our front piece. So what you have to do is just go back and fold your pattern paper. guys, I'm coming. I just want to be sure of what I'm doing first before we make a mistake, right? Okay, we are on the right track. Yeah. So this is what our pattern paper will look like. Alright, so you go ahead and label it. This is 1. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. This is 2 and this is 3. Alright, so this is your centerpiece. Now you transfer this to your fabric. So guys, now we're going to be cutting it out on our fabric. Alright, so all you have to do is just like, this is the front right side of my fabric and this is the right side of my pattern paper. So guys, the next thing we're cutting out now is our sleeve. Alright, so you're going to measure how long you want your own sleeve to be. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using about 18 inches so that when it folds, when I put my elastic, it will have elastic at the bottom. It will still be long. Alright, so I'm going to be working with 18 inches. Note, you can still work with smaller. You can decide to work with 15 inches. Okay, it depends on how bold you want yours to be. Now this is my start point, the sleeve height. Then from there I'm going to mark 4.5 inches to 5 inches for my cap height. All right, now I'm going to mark here. I'm going to mark my bust measurement, divide by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance, which I have here. All right, now the bottom part of it, I'm using I'm using more than what I have on my bust measurements because of the elastic. All right, so I have about 17 inches here. I'm going to be using the whole of this. So now I'm going to connect from here to this point, which is where my seam allowance stops. Then from here I'm going to just make a curve, like a straight through to that 17 inches, you get. So now we cut this out. This is for the side of the shoulder, the side of the dress that has a shoulder. Okay, then we'll still work on the other side of our sleeve, the side without a shoulder. So this is what I have. So now what you have to do here is you have to fold it fold it again, and make a casing, so you'll be able to pass your elastic thread or elastic band in between. Right. So for the other side of the sleeve, that is the part without a shoulder. All right, so now I've placed my other sleeve, the one with a shoulder, on top of a folded fabric. Right, and this is where our 5 inches fold. Okay, joining into the armhole first of all. Now we're not going to cut out from here. You're going to be dividing this, what you have here, into two. Okay, so we have 5 inches there, so if you divide it into two, it will be having about 2.5 inches. I'll be working with 3 inches, which is here. So I'm going to mark that 3 inches here. So now you're going to mark your 17 inches. That is 17 inches we have at the bottom part. Okay, because this is an elastic. So now we're going to be marking how bold you want it to be. Like, we're going to be passing an elastic on top of this. Now elastic will go through here, so we will measure how many the volume of fabric you want to use for this upper part. So I'm going to be using about 13 inches for my elastic. Okay, or you can still go ahead and mark the 17 inches you have at the bottom part here. All right, so this is what we have at this point. Now you're going to bring your pattern paper or the fabric you cut already. So this is for our pattern. These are pattern paper for that part that do not have a shoulder. All right, so what you have to do is place it at this point. So we are going to be cutting from here now. You cut straight, get to this point, then you cut it out this way. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So from here now, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go straight. Then from here, I'm going to cut it out this way. Reason why I did it this way, when you fold this now, then from here, you're going to be attaching it to your armhole. All right. Now we skip something because we are still going to fold it and it's going to reduce. Okay, so I will still go ahead and deepen this so that when I fold the upper part here for my okay, so when I fold it, I'll still have enough to join this area. So now we go ahead and cut this out. So this is what we have. So go ahead, fold here where you would insert and make a casing for your elastic. The same thing for the bottom part. So guys, the next thing we're going to do now is to join our breast parts together. All right, so this is for my two side pieces. This is the center piece. All right, so I went ahead to cut out a breast wadding for each of them. So now I'm going to go ahead and join the pieces together. The same thing I'll also do for my lining, but the lining, there is no breast wadding to it. Okay, so note, you can decide to add a stiffener or an stay or a gum stay to yours. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and join this now. So guys, I've gone ahead to join my cups together, and this is what we have. This is the back piece and this is the right side. Okay, so this is what we have. Now we're going to be turning it out with our lining pieces. All right, so what you have to do is just go ahead and place your lining pieces this way to be sure of what you're doing. All right, so this is what you have. Now you're going to go ahead and join your lining pieces together, after which you use it and turn it out. Alright guys, so now the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be joining the two shoulders together. Alright, so you can decide to do this, joining it to your back piece first of all, but I'm trying to do it here now. Now this side is for this side. Alright, so we're going to be joining your, remember we have a sleeve that we're going to be using an elastic on the upper part, so we're going to be using it to join these two sleeves together. Then for this part, we're going to join the two shoulders together here. All right, so if you finish this, or before you do this, you can now go ahead and join the bottom part of your skirt, that is the down part of the gown, which is the skirt part. All right, but this is what you will have, this is what it looks like, this is what the front back piece looks like. So let's flip it to the back or arrange it properly now. So this is what it will look like when we are done. So if we're done, this is what we're going to be having. All right, so you go ahead and fix your sleeve. Okay, so guys, when we are done, this is what we have. This is what our monochrome looks like, or one-sided shoulder looks like. Okay, to subscribe to the channel, share to friends, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. All right, and leave your suggestions in the comment section. Thank you so much. So this is what our gown looks like.